Rachel held her 2-week-old nephew for the first time on Christmas Eve, and all she could feel was terror. Not joy, not the warm glow everyone talks about when babies are involved. Just this overwhelming fear that she would somehow break him, that her hands weren't steady enough, that she would drop him or hold him wrong or hurt him without meaning to. He was so small, his head fit entirely in her palm, his fingers, she could barely feel them when they wrapped around hers. His breathing was so quiet, she had to keep checking to make sure he was still alive. "How does anyone survive being this fragile?" she whispered to her sister. Her sister laughed. I ask myself that every single day. That night, Rachel couldn't stop thinking about it. This tiny human who couldn't hold his own head up, couldn't communicate except through crying, couldn't do anything to protect himself if something went wrong. Completely dependent, utterly vulnerable. One wrong move and everything could shatter. And then the thought hit her during midnight service, sitting in the candlelight listening to the same Christmas story she'd heard every year since childhood. God chose this, not as an unfortunate necessity, not as the least bad option available. God, infinite, all-powerful, holding galaxies in place, chose to become exactly this fragile. This is helpless. This depends on someone else's shaking hands to keep him alive. Every Christmas pageant she'd ever seen made it look so peaceful. Mary, serene. Joseph is confident. Baby Jesus glowing in the manger like he was already divine, already untouchable. Even the barn looked clean in the paintings, like a rustic Airbnb instead of a place that smelled like animal waste and had dirt floors. But that 2-week-old in her arms, that's what God actually became. If you've ever held something so fragile you were afraid you'd break it, if you've ever felt the weight of being responsible for someone who couldn't survive without you, if you've wondered how anyone could trust themselves with something that precious, you're touching something about Christmas we usually miss. Because the question isn't just, why did God come? The question is, what did God give up to get here? And the answer changes everything about what we think we know about strength, about power, about what it means for God to love us. Rachel had grown up singing "Away in a Manger." She'd memorized the words before she could even understand them. The little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. She'd always thought that line was about Jesus being special, already divine, already different from regular babies. A baby who didn't cry because he was God, and God doesn't need to cry. But holding her nephew, feeling him startle at every loud noise, watching him cry when he was hungry or uncomfortable or scared, seeing how completely dependent he was, she realized how wrong she'd been. If Jesus didn't cry, he wasn't really human. And if he wasn't really human, then the whole thing was just God playing dress up, pretending to be one of us while still holding on to all the advantages that make him God. That's when she found it, the word that unlocked everything. Kenosis. It's what Paul writes about in Philippians, describing what Jesus did to become human. And kenosis doesn't mean came to earth or took on flesh, or any of the gentle phrases we use at Christmas. Kenosis means self-emptying. It means pouring yourself out. It means voluntarily giving up what you have the right to keep. Paul says Jesus did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. Made himself nothing, not added humanity to his divinity, not became human while still fully retaining all divine powers. Made himself nothing, emptied himself, let go. When God became human, he didn't just add a body, He gave up the advantages that made him God. He gave up omnipresence, being everywhere at once, to be contained in one 6-pound body, in one specific place at one specific time. He gave up omniscience, knowing everything, to learn language one word at a time like every other child. He gave up omnipotence, unlimited power, to become someone who couldn't even hold his own head up. He became exactly what Rachel was holding in her arms, completely dependent, utterly vulnerable, unable to survive without someone else choosing to keep him alive. This wasn't God visiting Earth while staying safely divine. This was God letting go of divinity to become genuinely, terrifyingly human. And here's what cracked Rachel open. He didn't have to. Nobody was forcing him. There was no cosmic rule requiring incarnation. He could have saved humanity from a distance, from safety, from the comfortable position of still being fully God. But he chose this instead. He chose to become the thing that terrified her when she held it. The thing is so fragile that one wrong move could destroy it. Vulnerability wasn't a bug in the Christmas story. That was the point. Watch what happens in Philippians when Paul describes this. He's writing to a church that's struggling with power dynamics, with people fighting over who's most important, who deserves the most honor. And Paul says, "You want to know what real power looks like? It looks like God choosing to become helpless. Who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." This is a hymn. The early church sang this, and the shocking thing about it is what it says about power. Real power isn't clinging to your advantages. Real power is having every advantage and choosing to let them go. Strength isn't staying invulnerable. Strength is making yourself vulnerable for the sake of someone you love. God could have stayed safely divine, could have kept all the cosmic advantages that make him God, could have solved our problem from a distance without risking anything himself. Instead, he became a baby who couldn't survive the night if his teenage mother didn't keep him warm. This is what it looks like when God gets close. Now watch Mary, a teenage girl in a patriarchal society where women had almost no power, no voice, no ability to shape their own futures. And an angel shows up with an invitation that will make her life infinitely more complicated. "You will conceive and give birth to a son." Before she's married, in a culture where that could get her killed, where everyone will assume the worst, where she'll carry shame for something that isn't her fault. And Mary doesn't argue, don't negotiate, don't try to find a safer way. She says, "I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled." She makes herself vulnerable. She empties herself of safety and reputation and control. She says yes to something that will cost her everything. This is the pattern. God empties himself to become human. Mary empties herself to carry him. Kenosis meeting kenosis. Vulnerability answering vulnerability. And then the angels show up to shepherds, not to priests, not to kings, not to anyone with power or influence or the ability to do anything useful with the information. To shepherds, people so low in the social hierarchy that their testimony wouldn't even be allowed in court. And the shepherds are terrified. The angels have to start with, "Don't be afraid," because when you encounter the divine breaking into your world, fear is the appropriate response. But here's what the angels tell them. The sign you're looking for is a baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger. That's not a sign of power. That's a sign of vulnerability. You'll know it's God because He's chosen to be helpless. The shepherds go and find exactly what the angels described. Not a glowing, untouchable deity. A newborn who looked like every other newborn they'd seen born in fields during lambing season. Fragile, dependent, completely at the mercy of teenage parents who had no idea what they were doing. And they worshipped, because they understood something we've forgotten. God's power isn't displayed through invulnerability. It's displayed through the choice to become vulnerable anyway. You don't have to be invulnerable to be strong. You don't have to protect yourself from being hurt to be powerful. You don't have to keep everyone at arm's length to be safe. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let yourself be held in shaking hands by someone who's terrified they'll break you. God did exactly that and called it salvation. David got his cancer diagnosis 3 weeks before Christmas. Stage 3. Treatable but serious. Surgery scheduled for January. Chemo after that. The whole brutal protocol. His oncologist was optimistic about outcomes, but David had seen enough people go through this to know what optimistic meant. It meant maybe. It meant we'll try. It meant you're going to spend the next year being poked and poisoned and carved open, and at the end of it, we'll see if you're still here. He told Rachel over coffee. They'd been friends since college, the kind of friendship where you don't talk for 6 months and then pick up like no time passed. I'm terrified, he said. Not crying. Not breaking down. Just stating a fact. I've spent my whole adult life being the person people depend on. I'm the one who has answers. I'm the one who fixes things. And now I'm going to spend a year being the person everyone has to take care of. Being weak, being dependent, being the one who can't even shower without help after surgery. Rachel thought about that baby in her arms, that terror she'd felt at holding something so fragile. What if, she said slowly, that's not the worst thing? David looked at her like she'd lost her mind. I'm serious, she said. What if being the one who needs help isn't weakness? What if letting people take care of you is actually the strongest thing you could do? We've built an entire culture around invulnerability, around self-sufficiency, around never needing anyone, never being dependent, never letting anyone see you can't handle it on your own. We call it independence. We call it strength. We call it being a grown-up who has their life together. But what if that's not strength at all? What if that's just fear wearing a power suit? Real strength looks like God choosing to become a baby, choosing vulnerability, choosing to need someone else's shaking hands to survive. Rachel had spent decades trying to be invulnerable, building walls, keeping people at a distance, never letting anyone see the parts of her that were fragile or broken or afraid. She called it being strong. She called it not being a burden. But holding that baby, feeling the weight of his absolute dependence, the terror and privilege of being trusted with something that fragile, she realized something. Vulnerability isn't weakness. Vulnerability is trust. It's the baby trusting that the shaking hands will hold him anyway. It's the mother trusting that she won't break what she's been given to protect. It's two fragile things choosing to need each other and calling it strength. This is what God demonstrated at Christmas. Not that He's so powerful He doesn't need us, but that He's so secure in His power that He can choose to need us anyway. He didn't come as an invulnerable superhero who could fix everything without risk to himself. He came as a baby who would die if someone didn't keep him warm through the night, who needed to be fed and changed and protected and loved. And he called that salvation. 3 months later, Rachel sat with David the night before his surgery. He was scared. He admitted it. No pretense, no false confidence, just honest fear about what was coming. "I hate this," he said. "I hate being the one who needs help." "I know," Rachel said. "But maybe that's the point. Maybe we were never supposed to be invulnerable. Maybe we were supposed to be like that baby in the manger, fragile enough to need each other, secure enough to admit it." David smiled. It was weak, but it was real. "So you're saying God got cancer to teach me something?" "No," Rachel said. "I'm saying God became human to show you that needing help doesn't make you less. It makes you like him." So what did God give up to come close? Everything that made him safe. Everything that kept him distant. Everything that protected him from being hurt by us. He gave up omnipresence to be locatable in one fragile body. He gave up omniscience to learn trust before he learned theology. He gave up omnipotence to become someone who couldn't survive a cold night without help. He made himself nothing. Kenosis, self-emptying, choosing vulnerability as the path to intimacy. And here's what this reveals about God himself. He is not a God who demands that you become invulnerable before he'll come close. He's not standing at a distance, waiting for you to get strong enough to not need him anymore. He is not impressed by your ability to handle everything alone. He is the God who chose to become the thing that terrified Rachel when she held it. The thing so fragile that one wrong move could destroy it. The thing completely dependent on someone else's shaking hands. He did this not because he had to, but because this is what love looks like when it stops protecting itself. The cross wasn't an accident. It was the logical conclusion of Christmas. If you become genuinely human, genuinely vulnerable, genuinely able to be hurt, then you become genuinely able to be killed. And he knew that when he let himself be small enough to fit in Mary's womb. This is why Christmas matters. Not because it's the story of God visiting Earth while staying safely divine, but because it's the story of God letting go of safety to become genuinely, terrifyingly, beautifully us. Vulnerable enough to need someone. Fragile enough to be broken. Human enough to die. And secure enough in his own identity that he could risk all of it for the chance to be close to you. You don't have to be invulnerable to be loved by God. You don't have to be strong enough to not need anyone. You don't have to have it all together before you're allowed to come close. God came close first. God became small first. God made himself vulnerable first, and he did it knowing exactly how badly it could go. Knowing we would hurt him, knowing we would break what we were given to protect, knowing it would cost him everything, he did it anyway. That's Christmas. Not a baby who didn't cry because he was too divine to need anything, but a baby who cried because he was human enough to need everything. A God who loved us enough to become as fragile as we are. The invitation isn't be strong enough to come close to God. The invitation is be honest enough about your fragility to let God come close to you. He's already made himself vulnerable. He's already risked everything. He's already chosen to need us as much as that baby needed Mary's shaking hands on the first Christmas night. The only question left is whether we'll trust him with our own fragility. Whether we'll let ourselves be held by someone who knows exactly how breakable we are, because he became breakable too. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up on Christmas and start your day, before the presents and the dinner and the chaos, take a minute. Think about that baby. Not the glowing porcelain doll from nativity scenes. The actual baby. The one who would have died if Mary hadn't kept him warm. The one who couldn't communicate except through crying. The one who was completely, terrifyingly dependent on fallible humans to keep him alive. And remember, God chose that. This week, when you're aware of your own fragility, when you need help and hate needing it, when you feel weak and want to hide it, when you're tempted to put up walls to protect yourself from being hurt, remember that God gave up invulnerability to come close to you. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's trust. It's what God demonstrated when He let Himself become small enough to hold. Maybe the strongest thing you can do this Christmas is admit you're not as strong as you pretend. Maybe the most powerful thing you can do is let someone see you need them. Maybe the most godlike thing you can do is make yourself nothing. Empty yourself of the walls and the pretense and the constant effort to seem invulnerable, so there's room for someone else to help hold you together. Next time, we'll explore what happened after Christmas, when that vulnerable baby grew up and started talking about a kingdom that looks nothing like what anyone expected. But for now, on this day when we celebrate God becoming human, remember this: the God who holds galaxies in place chose to become small enough to be held. Not because He had to, because He wanted to be close to you more than He wanted to be safe from you. That's the scandal of Christmas. That's the beauty of incarnation. That's what kenosis means. God didn't just visit. He emptied Himself, made Himself nothing, became vulnerable enough to be hurt by the very people He came to save. And He'd do it again, without hesitation. Because this is what love looks like when it stops protecting itself. Merry Christmas. May you know the God who chose to be fragile, and may you find the courage to be fragile too.